It feels like every autumn could just stretch out forever. Gorgeous golden light, fiery hues in the trees, and a bountiful harvest of fruits, nuts, flowers, and everything in between. But this autumn, like every autumn, has finally abruptly come to an end. And today we're going for a little look around the garden to see how the first frosts, the first sub-zero temperatures here have affected the garden, what I've done to protect plants and what I haven't done yet, and possibly should have done already. I say we're going for a look around because I haven't really been outside myself other than a quick 5-minute scoot around to get some footage of the frost. That's been it. So it's my first time seeing the garden, the jungle garden, in daylight. You can see here the persicaria, they definitely don't like the frost, do they? I think we had one night around -1, -2, but a good sharp frost is enough to blacken them completely. No worries there, because those things can bounce back from absolutely anything. But as we pass through the garden, we'll see some of the winter protection methods that I've employed so far, and other plants which I haven't protected, but we'll get on to those. So looking down here, you'll see a colocasia. This one, I've actually given a little bit of straw. Yes, it's only a little bit, but it should just keep the worst of the cold off. Although you will see, it's actually kept its leaves green even after the cold. So one thing you will notice as we pass through the garden is really the importance of microclimates, how some plants stay green, protected, others more exposed, completely blackened away. Up here, you'll see one of those late flowering beauties. This is Salvia concolor, or should I say was. It looked absolutely magnificent till just a fortnight ago, but what a fortnight we've had. Since you last saw around my garden, well, we've had the freezing temperatures, we've had a proper full-on storm here, winds gusting through the garden, we've had snow. I actually had a fairly decent amount of snow, only an inch or so, but enough to see, enough for Harriet to go sledging in. There's really been a bit of everything, followed by ice, fog, and all the sort of grim grey weather that autumn throws us here in the UK. But as we head towards the end of November, you can't say that this kind of weather isn't seasonal. I guess it's really time. And you'll notice down here, the Tachpanax, they're still green. So, you know, one of those plants really, they can be green, but sometimes a really hard frost can just nip them straight back. But as we head through, we'll see some plants that have certainly been affected a little bit more. These Dicksonia antartica tree ferns, literally all I've done for these is put a ball of fleece in the crowns. When I say ball, that is literally what I mean. A scrunched up lump of fleece. And that is all that I've done to protect them so far. A few people have messaged me recently asking about watering tree ferns. Now, when the weather is as wet as it has been this past week, and likely will be for the next week as you're watching this, I don't water them at all. I don't worry about watering the crowns. I just let the rain wash all over the trunk, plenty of moisture. They will absolutely love it. But if we get any more severe cold spells coming up, and you do decide to fully wrap your tree ferns, always make sure that you unwrap them following the cold spell. And I tend to water mine if we do get a dry period in winter, maybe a dry fortnight, any longer than that, or immediately following a proper prolonged freezing spell. Freezes, as you probably know, dry things out almost as much as the wind. So that really is important to give them a nice drink then. But for the rest of winter, I honestly don't worry about watering them much. And if you've got fleece in the crown like this, it will let some of the moisture through with all the heavy rain, but it's also breathable and it dries out pretty quickly as well. So that is exactly how I'll be leaving mine. If you have wrapped yours up, then possibly midway through this next week, I will maybe unwrap them and let some of the milder, wetter air get around them. And as we head through, you'll maybe start to appreciate some of the greenery a little bit more, or the evergreen ground ferns I've got. This time of the year, they really come into their own, don't they? Here's a couple of precious Tachpanax. One of them I got from Shane Bilson. The other one, I believe, is an Empress. This one here, that I got from Sunk Island. Those, I don't actually have my polytunnel / greenhouse built up yet, so they've just been brought under these tree ferns here, which was just enough to shelter them, bit of overhead cover from, well, we'll say a few days of freezing, just below freezing, nothing major. But as we head out into the main jungle garden, you will see that it looks completely different. Look at all that space. Yes, every single year after I cut the Gunnera down, I'm amazed at just how big this area is, how wide the garden suddenly feels. No longer just a winding path under and around huge, just absolute monster leaves. Now we've got all this space to play with. But let's look at the plants I brought in the plants that are protected and the plants which, well, yeah, we'll get into that. So I guess first thing, let me show you some of the evergreens. This is the time of year when every exotic or tropical style gardener on YouTube will talk about their favourite evergreen plants. It's one of those topics that definitely comes around, and every year I try to put my own kind of spin in it. But I guess for me really, when it comes to the evergreens in my garden, they are simply the plants which just do their thing all year round. But at this time of the year, you appreciate them so much more. I mean, just look at this Trachycarpus nova. It is really shaping up now to be a beautiful plant. 5 years in the ground from a 30-litre pot with a very small trunk, and now just look at it. What a monster. Definitely different from your standard Fortunii. Really elongated petioles, or stems, stalks, whatever you want to call them, and a different look to the trunk as well. A beautiful plant when it's not been completely destroyed by the winds, but I've got to say, even for a plant like this one here, right in the firing line from the wind which comes directly from that way there, it's not looking too bad. Plenty of room needed though, because they've got quite a wingspan on them, haven't they? And then the Fargesia angustissima, what a stunning bamboo. I love this one for those dainty leaves, just see how small they are. Just such a glorious, gorgeous plant. Blows in the breeze, you've got the sound, you've got everything, amazing. And then up here, this plant definitely isn't bothered by any amount of cold. A Trachycarpus princeps new form hybrid. It's a cross between Fortunii and princeps, but what an absolute stunner. And you will see plenty of this winter, as a lot of my Instagram pictures possibly turn to nocturnal ones, where I come outside with the head torch and the undersides of the leaves looking silvery blue in the light, look ghostly, steely, and truly magnificent. An amazing plant. But that's enough for evergreens just now. There's plenty more waiting in the wings, all kinds of different plants, palms and beauties ready to go out into the garden. Let's talk about this Ensete. Yes, usually I would have brought my Ensetes in at this time of the year. However, this one in particular, it had a kind of fungal issue, rusty rot type appearance to the leaves, not great. So I decided to compost it. However, I only had just over an hour to get the whole garden winter ready, so I didn't really have the time to dig the whole thing up. So instead, I chopped most of it down, spread it around the garden as a mulch, and then left this bit in situ. So we'll see how well that actually rots down in spring. No, it might look at probably start growing from the middle, won't it? It'll be the one that's actually survived, but that's why that's a complete mess at the minute. You can see, looking back around, more evergreens there, spider's web fatsia. It's sort of reverted to green, that one there. But I wonder if that's a result of it actually losing quite a lot of growth last year, so maybe needs more chlorophyll. Who knows? Looking down here, you'll see this Persicaria hasn't been blackened yet. So it definitely appears that either this part of the garden is a little bit sheltered, maybe the overhead cover from these Trachycarpus palms helps a little bit, or potentially it's just a case of this red dragon being a little bit tougher than Purple Fantasy. But you will see below it all these autumn leaves, which I use simply as a mulch over the slightly more tender plants. I mean, there I've just got it over an iris confuser, which should be just fine. But actually looking along, another little surprise. Here, this Farfugium green giant, I thought this one would be completely toast by now, but it's perfectly green, shiny and healthy. So it really does show, even snow, even frost, sometimes all these exotic looking plants can surprise you. I can completely see why, for a lot of you maybe in central London, southern locations, plants like this are really completely tough and evergreen. Here, I know anything much lower than what we experienced will completely blacken it. But I've got faith in this plant that it will bounce back, no problem at all. So if you've got Begonia grandis looking like this at the back there, don't worry at all. They will be just fine. They definitely turn to mush like so many plants at this time of the year, following a hard frost, but they come back no problem at all. Here you'll see Begonia emiensis, which is my first year actually trying this plant, but going off Nick at Panglobal's description of it being perfectly tough and hardy, a mulch being possibly not even necessary. We'll see how it does. You can see there, just basically lumped up a huge pile of leaves around it, and that is all I'll do. Over there, you can see the coleus. Yeah, they definitely got taken out. To be honest with you, they are quite tender. Even for tender bedding plants, coleus are much less than, we'll say, 5, 6, 7 degrees and they start showing signs of stress. So definitely one of the first plants to check out at this time of the year. And at the back, you'll see the begonias again fading into the ground. It's easy to moan about the weather at this time of the year, isn't it? And I'm not saying that I won't. You know, at this time of year, every single tropical gardening Facebook page you follow turns into a weather page, doesn't it? But I've got to say, I do love the seasons here. Even though they provide the challenges, they also provide the opportunities. Opportunities for plants like these Hedychia massive orange to flower and look magnificent during our short, often cooler summer months. But at this time of the year, I like the sort of reset. A lot of the plants go into resting, and you look forward to next year, don't you? I think if I lived in a truly tropical style climate, I'd be getting bored. I'd be finding other things to do to make life more tricky for myself. Just look over there, that Fatsia japonica. That one spider's web looking beautiful. I just love the flowers. And as these Fatsias size up, they really will create that picture that I want. And in fact, that's something I talked about in my last video, a bit of a rambling video talking about 5 gardening tips and composition, layer and everything like that. I've actually got a few plans for this area. This tree fern is actually just temporarily sat in that pond. It's a struggling tree fern that I've tried my best with. It might have to come out and just go in a pot close to the house, we'll see. But behind it, I might take out that Burinda papyrifera and just have this picture here, beautiful glossy evergreens. So we've got the Schefflera taiwaniana up there, no problem at all this kind of weather, especially at that size. And then we've got the Fatsias. That one looking maybe a little bit yellow, following a drier summer, but they tend to perk up this time of the year anyway, and I'm pretty sure they've now got adequate access to moisture. Again, you'll see when it came to winter care, yes, it was rushed, but all I've done is simply just put some straw around plants. I possibly didn't even need to put it around this Xanthodecia Hercules, but I just put it on there just to keep the worst off. Over there, you'll see that Beaumeria, that started to blacken again. Again, there's a lot of plants in the whole exotic tropical style thing, which they do get a little bit damaged by the frost, but they're perfectly tough and hardy and they will come back, just like any kind of perennials. So the garden can definitely look messy this time of the year, but I don't know, I like the reset. I like how it pairs things back and it makes you appreciate and look forward to next year so much more, doesn't it? You'll see the Gunnera. Yes, I've covered them over. Possibly in spite of RHS and DEFRA guidance, I decided to give these some cultivation care and simply cover them over with their old leaves like I've done every other year. It doesn't take long at all, and I find it quite a tactile, enjoyable job, just hacking back those monstrous leaves, those weighty stems, and I just literally pile them on top of it like a huge umbrella and then use the stems to weigh the leaves down. And this way, they seem pretty much well protected. The only thing I keep an eye out for is as the leaves and the stems dry out over winter, we can get a proper storm that just blows them away. So you might need to cover them over, but other than that, absolutely no problem at all. You'll see the remains of the Enseti there. And in fact, like I talked about in my videos again, see, I don't just say it, I do it as well. You'll notice all of the leaves, everything that I've chopped back, chopped down, gets recycled onto the soil. I honestly think it makes such a big difference to the soil. It brings so much more life there. It improves the water retention, it improves the structure, the fertility, and it's absolutely a benefit to all these jungle garden plants. You will notice the Musa basjoo got wrapped up. Yes, I finally made time for it right at the last minute. Do you need to wrap up your Musa basjoo? Well, let's not get into that today. If you're not sure, just wrap it up. If you know you can get away with it, then just get away with it. Like I said, I only had just over an hour to get the whole garden ready. I was literally tying this up as it was getting dark. I could barely see, as you can probably tell by the overall finish of it. But that's it protected. If you want to know how to do this, check out my guide. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But very simply, 4 canes, pot on top, wrap some fleece around, pack it with straw, and then put a couple of fleece bags over the top. Tie it up, job done. And that's what I'll be doing here for the Musa basjoo. But like I said, they're very tough plants, and a -1, a freeze, it won't damage it at all. No problems there. It's more about protecting it from any more severe cold that may follow later in winter. So that's where things pretty much are. Everything that needs protecting has been protected. All of my tender exotic plants that were down here have just been brought close to the house, tucked under a table until I get the polytunnel built up, or something along those lines anyway. And every plant that is out here is a tough herbaceous plant, something that the winter cold won't touch. And when it comes to those lovely summer tender bedding plants like the begonia. As you can see, they are very much mush now. But you know, that's the way things go. It really has been dramatic, the change in the garden this year. It's gone from a beautiful golden firework kaleidoscope of colour to just brown, greens, and a lot of dead leaves. Well, that's the way things go, isn't it? And like I said, we are now well on the way till the end of November. So it's about time, isn't it? So let me know in the comments below, what evergreen videos would you find helpful? Are there any exotic plant winter care videos that I haven't made that you think will be helpful? I've got a busy few weeks coming up. If I can make a video, if there's something you want to see, I will try my best to make it happen. And as we head through, I'll just give you a little sneak peek past all the bamboos. Look how much organic matter I got on this here. Yes, all the leaves have been gathered up. All the cut stems of the cannas and the gingers have all been dumped on top of the soil. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. Plenty of manure, plenty of leaves, plenty of chopped down stems to really help improve the soil around these bamboos and really hopefully help it cope much better next year without a lot of rainfall. There is one thing, however, that I think I need to share with you. Look at this, my Kew Beauty bamboo. Do we think that's flowering? I think it is. Yes, I saw, was it early this year, last year, a few people, including Jimmy Blake, talking about how their bamboo was flowering. And I thought, mine looks fine. Maybe I've escaped it, but no. To me, that looks like a flowering stem. Look at it. Yeah, definitely looks like flowers you'd see on the grass, and obviously bamboo is related to grass. So unfortunately, it may well be the end for one of my beautiful blue bamboos. But it's lucky that I've got another one that can just slot into its place. So yeah, let me know if yours are showing the same flowering stems as this one here. It's hard to actually show it properly, blowing around in the breeze, but it definitely doesn't look healthy. It's a shame, like when any plant expires, but you know, you've got to see the potential for something new, haven't you? You've got to see the potential. So we head back up this way, you'll see the pink china just clinging onto life, but again, a bit of a mulch, which can move around a little bit during all those storms, but that is all I'll be doing for that. So I guess the garden now is waiting for a proper freeze when all these Pseudicium gingers will be cut completely back. There won't be a lot of greenery shown in any of the persicaria, and everything then will, to use that phrase, be put to bed for winter. But what is ultimately bedtime for these plants will be the real time to shine for the fatsias, for the evergreen ferns, for the tree ferns hopefully, for the palms, for the bamboo. I actually really enjoy seeing the transition from my tropical garden as it turns from a beautiful summer autumnal paradise full of rich colours, all big beautiful leaves and flamboyant flowers, into something more muted, something greener. I just love so much this evergreen structure, and I think it's truly amazing that you can have an evergreen exotic tropical style or jungle garden here in the UK, which is actually greener than the countryside around. Isn't that just magnificent? You can go big in summer, but you can also go big in winter. And just looking at this picture here, for me, I just love seeing these things in my garden here. As much as I'm all about that summer transformation, setting the stage for something really stupendous, I love a lot of this evergreen backdrop too. Fantastic. So anyway, today's video has just been a little walk around the garden because I don't really have any kind of daylight time over the next few weekends. But it's been great to see how things are doing. And I've got to say, all in all, I'm pleased that I got the plants that I needed to, protected, wrapped up, dug up, taken away. But I'm also very intrigued and amazed to see a lot of plants looking green, despite actual snow, ice, freezing fog. It's been a pretty grim couple of weeks, but the garden isn't looking too bad. So please let me know in the comment section below how your garden's doing. Did you get surprisingly cold, or have you got away with it pretty much? Are there any videos you'd like to see? Let me know and I'll do my best to make them. But anyway, thank you for having a quick walk around with me, a little chat, walk around the garden, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.